is this Vic Asher? We're trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty. Is that all right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Extended,
Yes. Hey,
extend
I
this.
I am absolutely overjoyed and delighted to be able to join for you to join us this evening. I mean, I'm going to bring up a photo. I don't know. Let me see if I can find it here. It has been a God. How do I do this? There we go. It has been a hot minute, as they say, since what was that like? Would that have been
Uh, that was
70?
81.
Was it
Around 81.
1981, San Luis Obispo,
1981.
California? You're living
Yeah,
in like what, Ventura, Los Angeles, something like that?
yeah. I was living. Well, at that time, I was living in Calabasas, I think. But yeah, in Ventura, I've been living out here most of my life. Before that, it was San Fernando Valley, good old valley. And Tarzana.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, that's the photo. There you are, man.
unbelievable. You and
What happened to you and me?
God, I know, right? Oh,
And that's a girl who helped promote some of my music
it
too,
was.
Rebecca. And we were at your studio there and promoting it.
I want to say Rebecca from what was it? Velcy Records.
Velcy Records was the record company. Actually, I don't know if I ever told you this, but that was my record company.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
And it's actually Velcy is Elvis spelled differently.
Oh, love
And
that.
isn't that cool? So yeah, so her father actually was in the radio business, and I was signed with a manager at the time, and he was trying to get me a record deal. At that time it was a little bit different. So he just turned to me and he said, "Look, why don't you start your own record company and go door to door, knock on doors, and do?" Because I knocked on doors before that. Motown, this, that, and I did it, and I released the single, and all of a sudden everybody started picking it up. Then I sent it to everybody. She sent it to you, and then we had about 350 radio stations across the country pick it up, and it hit 26, I think, in the adult contemporary market. It was in Billboard and what have you too. So it was a fun time. And then I had another one after that. Well, I could go on forever. You asked the questions. Go
No,
ahead.
no, 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 no worries. If you've just joined the program and you do not know, Vic is a singer, songwriter, musician. Had two hits in the '80s, which of course you just talked about. Number 26 on the top 30 AC or adult contemporary
Yeah.
charts. One dance funk hit on Billboard was top 30 on Polydor Records in Italy and France. Tell us about that.
Well, after I had the second song that was played. It's called "I'll Take What You Got," and I had the greatest players there are, and I'll go through that a little bit later for you if I got a second. And I had that out, and then my dad, because I'm a little Italian, he was in Italy. It was the second time he was in Italy. The first time was well, he was a World War II vet. He was stationed over there, or he was put over there.
Oh, no kidding.
So this in Italy. So this is so he was vacationing with my mom over there. Knocked on some doors. Went to Polydor Records. They said, "No, no, you'll never." And Polydor in those days was huge, huge.
Oh,
And
huge.
oh no, yeah, oh God. And the president, he wanted to meet he was so gregarious, and so out there, my dad. And he said, "You know what? I'll wait." And he sat there and he waited outside and he waited outside. And then sure enough, the guy came out, loved him, and took him out to dinner.
Oh, no kidding.
And then I swear. And then they signed the record deal, and they even did in those days we didn't really have MTV, so they had to make a recording video of it, and they played it on TV over there, and it hit Italy, Germany, what have you, and it went up the charts. And I still remember in those days they'd send you the checks, the residuals in the mail. and from ASCAP, and it was all in Italian.
Oh God.
And yeah, it was, but hey, listen, it was a couple of bucks, so
Oh
you
yeah.
know, I said,
ASCAP,
yeah, you
BMI,
know,
Italian. It's all good, right?
yes, it is.
Did
It's
you
all
did you
good.
ever go over there to tour or no?
No, you know what? I didn't go there. I didn't. I was doing so much stuff over here to get it, you know, out here and played
Sure.
and doing. Yeah, this was another song called "This Love Will Last Forever," and that made it on the charts over there. Um, and then I did a song called "Animalistic Behavior."
Oh yeah.
After yeah, I said, you know, I could do a funk kind of tune, you know. So I wrote it, and I got the guitar and the keyboardist from Shalimar, who had a bunch of hits back in the '80s. They played on it. Robbie Rist, I don't know if you remember, but he was
Oh, I
in the
do.
Brady Bunch.
Oh
You
yeah.
remember
Oh,
Robbie?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I
Oh yeah.
absolutely do.
The other blonde guy with the glasses.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
hit it off. We were friends, and he did the drums and the bass, and then I did guitar. And it's kind of like a funk, totally different because a lot of my stuff is kind of R&B, rock, ballads, stuff, whatever. And I said, you know what? I met Rick James at Motown, and he was like kind of aloof, you know. but
I'm Rick
but
James, bitch. Enjoy yourself. I know. Yeah, he's. I know. He's kind of
yeah,
out there. Yeah, I know. I get it.
he was out there, and I was like, wow, man. I said, you know, I could do this stuff. So then I released that, and it was climbing up the charts. It was in radio and records, and Record World was big, and actually, I think in Billboard they call it Blue Eyed Soul, another Princeling. They say, I guess I sounded like Prince a little bit on this
Oh
one,
sure.
but yeah, so that one did pretty well too. It was distributed by Gem Distributors. I don't know if you remember them,
I do.
Gem Records.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that was a fun one too. You know, so I played with a lot of great guys like Gary Malaber, played drums on all my stuff, a lot of my stuff. He was in the Steve Miller Band. He played with everybody from Streisand to Springsteen. In fact, I talked to him a couple of weeks ago. I haven't talked to him in years, and he's reproducing the song, you know, the Steve Miller song "Abracadabra."
Oh sure. Oh,
Uh, yeah, he's remaking it with Eminem.
you know what?
So,
I want to say I've heard that, and I want to say I've played that, and I want to say I
really?
may be able to. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I told. It's a great song, and a redo of that. I love it.
So he was telling me he was working on that a few weeks back or a month ago, whatever. And he was excellent. I had Paul Stallworth, who played on the George Harrison album Extra Texture and a lot of his albums too. I had Chuck Finley play horns. He got written up in Billboard on my one song, "I'll Take What You Got," as one of the best sax leads. And he was also, you know, Johnny Carson show. He was in the Doc Severinsen band.
I, it's funny. Not only did I won't digress here, but I did I was fortunate enough to attend the Johnny Carson show, and then a whole different time later, I also got a photo with Doc Severinsen. So anyway, uh,
That's
uh,
nice.
so you have been a singer songwriter for quite some time. What would you say? What do you draw on? Who would you say are your influences, if you have any, for songwriting? I want to say you mentioned one earlier in chat, maybe.
Yes, the Beatles. Yeah, that's why when
There you go.
I still remember running home that night and catching them on Ed Sullivan when I was about 11 years old. And I said, from that day on, this is what I want to do, and that's what I want to be. And in those days, that was a joke. It was like kind of laughed upon. You know, what are you, crazy? Even my
Right.
dad, you know, was like, "What? You got to get a real job," you know. but but what I ended up doing to make him happy, I went to college and I got a Bachelor of Arts in Music, to please to please them. And but it's funny, in those days they didn't promote popular music, and then I used to write the dean and say, look, there's got to be classes on. Nothing happened until like 20 years ago or whatever. But I got my degree, and then I started knocking on doors, and that's what you had to do back in those days if you didn't know anybody. You had to start from scratch, really. And I did it. I got my feet on the ground and in the door, I should say. And that's the hardest part. But I did it myself. I had to do it, and then I got signed by Owl Records, and then Golden Boy Records, and then Polydor Records. But unless they hear you, the hardest part is being heard. I remember going to A&M, and I played, because then after I did some of this stuff, I went into some like pop rock type stuff like Rick Springfield.
Oh, sure.
And yeah, and I still remember the A&R guy. That's what they used to have in those days, the A&R guys. I don't know if they still have them. And sitting there and playing it, and he goes, "Oh God, I'd sign you right now, but I just signed another guy who just sounds like you." And I'm going, "Ah, terrific." It was a guy from Canada. This guy I don't know. God, what's his name? I can't remember his name. Right
No worries. I worked with, so back to San Luis Obispo, where we met, I worked with a woman named Jan Basham, and Jan was one of the very, very early pioneers of it, of the music business in A&R, and specifically A&M Records. And she went to a club, and she's like, "Oh, who are these guys?" Turns out it was like Captain and Tennille. So they signed. So it's funny, like, so your dad, right? They have dinner. It's funny how, not incestuous, but it's funny how
it's weird
deals happen, right?
I know. My best friend, well, not my best friend, but a friend, you might know, Michael Jackson.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I want to hear those stories.
I didn't become friends with him out of music in the music industry. I became friends with him because I lived in Tarzana. He lived in Encino, and he used to come into where I used to run Warehouse Records. I don't know if you remember Warehouse Records in the old days.
I do.
You do?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
I was a man, and he came in there, and this is pre Thriller. This is during when he was recording it and stuff. And believe it or not, I became friends with him. At the beginning, these are cute stories. These are cool stories that people like because of Michael, because he was innocent at that time. It was it was before he blew up and got crazy.
Sure.
He was amazing person. He told me he wouldn't listen to anybody else's music. He told me that like that. "I won't listen to anybody else's music, but I listen to yours because I trust you, Vic." And he wrote down his address and name. I still have it. It's on a coupon from Magic Mountain, which was a amusement park.
Oh yeah.
and I said, "Oh, thanks, Michael." And he'd always come in and we'd talk about it. And I go, it was more like friends. I used to collect snakes, and he used to have animal, and we'd talk about this and that. And then I was in classical music naturally because I graduated Cal State Northridge. And we had a classical room in the back of the record store, and he'd say, "Vic, can we go in the back?" And then we'd pick out like a classical thing for him because he loved classical music. And then I finally, after a bunch of times him coming over and I got a couple of little more anecdotes with Michael, I finally asked him, I said, "Michael, I know you love my music, but do you want to write with me? I'd love to write with you." Instead of, I had kind of an ego back then. Instead of saying, "Hey, Michael, can I sing background for you? Because you love my voice,
Oh, yeah.
And he said, "Vic, I just co-wrote a song with Paul McCartney, The Girl Is Mine, and I'm being sued for it, but it came to me in a dream." And he's explaining that he's being sued. After a while, people come after you because of your money, right?
Oh, sure.
And yeah, that was the one part of fame that people hate the most, And I said, "Oh no, I totally get you, Michael." But I always was more like I just wanted to be a friend. And we were friends. I mean, last time I saw him, it was at a Hall and Oates concert, and I got up to say hi. He was coming down the aisle, and I was on the aisle with a girl, and he comes walking down with his entourage. I go up to the entourage, and I says, "Hey." Oh no, no! They pushed me back. I said, "No, I know Michael. Yeah, right." So this is right when Thriller hit, and he was, boom, he's going up the ladder, and but we were in the same row, and I'd lean over, and he'd lean over, and he'd look at me, and he'd wave at me, and I'd go back, and he'd wave, and then we were playing like peekaboo. He was like a total kid. And at the end, I feel at the end of the concert, they're playing the last song. I guess he went backstage. He tapped me on the shoulders, and he turned around and he gave me a hug, and then he went backstage. That was the last time I saw him. But during the times I saw him, when I say he was a kid, for example, there was this one picture of Lionel Richie. Oh no, I'll give you this one first.
Yeah.
Of a kid sitting on the moon, and he goes, "Vic, look, a little boy on the moon." Ah, and then later on in Never Neverland, in his home, he put a little boy sitting on the moon where he has his little railroad going through. He used to have a little train and stuff, and he put that up there. And then one time he looked up, and he introduced me to his mom. His mom came in to meet me and say hi. And I said hi to her and this and that. And then she looks up and sees Lionel Richie. And he's in a white suit, and I think that's when he did All Night Long and stuff. And she's furious. This is right before Thriller. She's furious, and that if you remember on the cover of Thriller, he's got this white suit, right?
Oh yeah.
and she's going like ballistic, and Michael, okay, looks up. He looks at me. He looks up, and he goes, "Bad Lionel," and he starts smiling and laughing.
Oh God!
That was Michael.
Oh, let me ask you a question. So you've had an amazing career. You've collaborated and met with some amazing people. Can you think back? I'm a big believer of like destiny. So what do I mean? Like you walk up to a corner, you could go left, you could go right, and maybe you choose left, and now you meet people, and it changes your life. Was there, thinking back, was there like
Yeah.
a pivotal moment you think that was happenstance or destiny that changed your career?
You know what? I think there were times that I kind of regret that. I mean, there were a lot of things that opened the doors for me, and I'm on Spotify. I got 50 songs, blah blah blah. You can even download. It's free on YouTube, by the way, everybody out there, because I got more songs, a lot of songs. But maybe you'll play one. I don't know. But there were some regrets I had. Instead of really pursuing it with Michael, I got my grandmother was friends with Danny Thomas. I don't know if you remember who Danny Thomas is. Anybody out there is old enough?
Yeah,
okay.
We all do. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, he did. Then he went into producing the Andy Griffith Show, the Gomer Pyle, on and on and on. And he had his own show, and then he started St. Jude's with my grandmother. And he actually did my grandmother's eulogy. And I was signed to a manager at the time, and I opened for him one time at the Sportsman's Lodge. I think I did a Barry Manilow tune on the piano. And yeah, I did. It was Barry Manilow. And he called and he said, "Would you come over to the house? I'd like you to see if you want to do Vegas and this and that." And I went to my manager. I go, "Hey, he started Margaret, I think. He did all. He said, "No, I won't let you do that. We have a contract, and you can't go over there, and you can't do that." And that might have changed my life right there, because he started a lot of people in the music business as well. And I never got that one. Uh, there's others too where you go, gosh, if I would have taken the left road instead of the right
You know
road.
what they say? You know, the rear view mirror, right? Is all, you know,
Right,
the windshield, the rear view mirror. You're just like, oh
right,
God, why didn't
right.
I? Why shouldn't I? You know, I get it.
Exactly. You know,
Ah,
it's funny how life goes on and things happen. And here I'm talking to you after all these years.
oh my God.
Uh, yeah,
What an absolute joy. I mean, you've been, well, you've been from California, you've been to Hawaii, you're back in California.
yeah,
You have what,
yeah.
a grandson or granddaughter now? Does that sound right?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I moved to Maui actually. This is before the fires for a while, and then I got a grandson, so I moved back here. My family here, and my older daughter, she's a single mom, and I'm helping out a little bit, and I love babysitting. Here I'm a grandfather. And I feel I'm home a lot. I feel like John Lennon when he was off those few days, and he just stayed home, and he was with Sean. He was hanging out with Sean, his son. The good old days to be
That's right.
with your loved ones. I'm fortunate enough to be able to do that. So that's what I love right now. I still write my younger daughter's playing clubs and this and that, and she's doing really good. And yeah, you played REO Speedwagon. A friend of ours, Kevin, and his wife, Kevin Cronin of REO, are one of our family members. Raised, well, I shouldn't say raised. They were she was a nanny to two of my daughters and two of his sons, Kevin's son. And we lived close, like a half a mile away. So I got to know him a little bit, but his wife, so sweet. I went into the furniture business. I don't know if you ever knew that.
I did. I did. I
You know,
did.
okay, for 27 years I wasn't just sitting home. I was working. I started the smallest store in the San Fernando Valley, and it became, with my ex business partner, the largest independent furniture store in the valley. And to get to Kevin, well, his wife Lisa bought furniture from me, and then that's how I know Lisa, and then we hung out. But the funny thing is that that was where I made the most money, was opening a store, and then I opened another store, and then I was in furniture for about 27, 30 years.
Unbelievable.
But I know. But I got to meet. It's funny. I met Snoop Dogg. Bought
Oh
furniture for me. We when
God.
he was just, yeah, when he was just starting out. You mentioned Champagne
Evelyn
King.
Champagne King, yeah.
Evelyn, yeah, she bought furniture from me. In fact, what we used to do in North Hollywood, that was my first store in North Hollywood. We used to put everybody's picture up there. So that was the one thing, But I had Richard Dreyfuss in there. I had, God, so many movie stars were like crazy in there, But they give me their signed autograph deal. I put it up there. But everybody in the music industry used to come in there too. So we used to reminisce, and we talk about music and this and that, and it was a lot of fun.
Oh God.
Uh, yeah,
We
yeah,
could, we
that
could.
was.
I swear to God, we could. I mean, we could probably
I know.
go till midnight. And we will definitely have you back. Two quick things. Number one, what are you working on? Any future projects? And share your socials. Instagram, Facebook. How do people
Okay.
follow you? Spotify, etc.
Yeah, I right now I'm working on trying to get this one song that I wrote about 20 years ago, and I played all the instruments on, and I released it called "It Is What It Is," and I have some connections right now, and I'm trying to get that covered by somebody. And then I have another one of my older songs called "Hard Times," which actually was Michael Jackson's favorite song, "Hard Times," and I'm trying to get that covered by somebody right now. So I'm working on trying to get covers on some of my music, and doing that kind of thing. As far as putting out my Instagram, I actually gave it up, and I clued out on everything, and I took my guitars to Hawaii, and that was it, But then
Smart.
I just recently got back on Instagram, and it's Vic Asher 12, I think it is. But it's I'm not a social guy.
Sure.
I know that's the thing to do nowadays, and everybody's into that. But you know what? I talk to so many people that are like, I love that because that's old school.
Yeah.
Oh man, I remember you had Ed Sheeran. He was one of my engineers. He did Fleetwood Mac and Elton. I remember going into the studio, Mike, Mister Saturday night,
And no,
and
it's fine.
and recording one of my songs. And at the end, I hear this girl singing, and it's on tape, not digital tape. And I said, who is this girl singing? She's Donna Summer.
Oh
She
my
didn't
God.
need all of her music, and it was one of the ones she threw out, right? And we needed that. Tape was expensive, and I'm recording, and the studio had paid for it because they have a deal where if you make it, they get a piece of the action. Anyway, long story short, there was a lot of that kind of stuff. I remember the old days. I'm not too into the social thing. But yeah, YouTube, I'm on that. You could listen to a lot of my tunes. Naturally, all the things like Apple, Spotify, and all those goodies. I've got Vic Asher Radio on the Heart Radio. A lot of that cool stuff is still going on. People are still selling my old vinyl out there. As collector's items, which is cool. I don't get a nickel, but you know what? I don't care. I just to know that people enjoy some of the tunes I wrote and some of the songs I did just makes it for me. It just thrills me.
All right, take us home. You get to choose between these three songs
Oh boy.
to introduce. Animalistic Behavior, Hard Times, I'll Take What You Got.
Oh my God.
I know. What is that? Sophie's Choice, kind of right. It's like
Well,
I love
Animalistic
them all.
Behavior was a really different type of tune for me. It was a funk type song and this and that, but it doesn't. That really isn't me in a way. But I do like funk. Even I've read a lot of funk type thing. But out of those three, I'll Take What You Got did hit 26 on the charts, and Hard Times was the flip side, and they started playing that. Did you say This Love Will Last Forever or Hard Times?
No. I only have the Animalistic, Hard Times, and I'll Take What You Got in front of me at the moment.
Okay. I'm going to do the one that Michael liked. Good old Michael, MJ. Hard Times.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that I could see somebody, one of the youngsters doing that now with a little different production on it, and maybe making it a hit again. I had the background singers from Boz Scaggs. I had, like I said, Gary Malaber on that from from Steve Miller Band. I had Paul Stallworth who played with, George Harrison, and I had Chuck Finley, and I had some really great people on that one, and it really hits home, that song, and it meant a lot to me. I was going through hard times at the time with my girlfriend, and I didn't think I was going to make it, but what made it through was writing a song like that. And I think, for me, I'd choose that tune.
All right. Boys and girls, please put your hands together and thank, from Los Angeles live, Vic Asher. Vic, love you, miss you. I mean, I have
love you too, man.
So
love you too. You're
many
the best.
fun moments here.
Yes.
Boys and girls is Vic Asher with Hard Times.
Thank you. Love to be in everybody's living room or wherever I'm at.
Talk to you soon, brother. Thanks.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Vic.